Marion, let's start from the beginning. I always love hearing how every teacher's journey starts because behind every English lesson, there's usually a story of curiosity, courage, or maybe a little bit of luck. Can you tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from, and how you first got into teaching English?
All right. I'm Mehreen, and when I talk about my English language teaching journey, I feel like it's very, very organic, because I always love learning different languages, and the part that comes with it is like storytelling. So I come from a region where people are polyglots. They speak different languages. So when I was growing up, I learned three languages already. And English was a language that we had to learn as a second language. So I started it as an experiment. Like I used to talk to my friends in English, and I felt, that I can teach them. I felt the urge that I should be doing it professionally maybe later on. It was just an idea. As a person growing up, you have so many dreams. So it was one of the things that I was good at. I was teaching my friends how to speak the language, English itself. So this was one of the ways through which I connected with different people, like my classmates. I got to make good friends. And I also became very famous that she speaks English, in a region where people do not speak English. So I got a little famous, and in that age, fame is something that you really want to have. But somehow I ended up taking English as a major because I loved literature a lot. I love reading so many books of Shakespeare.
Mm,
Of course, I forgot it now later on. But R.L. Stein was one of my favorite writers because he wrote about mysterious stories, and I love
nice.
reading those stories. So that's how I ended up with literature. And I gave it a thought that I should start teaching. And I joined the college here in Pakistan. And I felt like classroom is a place where you connect with people. People come with different stories. In an English class, I think it's a class where people share their stories. So I enjoyed it, and that's how I
It's
joined
nice
it.
when people like to help others, and you said you help your friends, right, to learn English.
That's correct. Yeah, that's how
Yeah,
it started.
yeah, that's awesome. And what's about the third language? You said the English is your second.
Yeah, so basically, I belong to northern Pakistan where we speak Shona, that's my mother tongue.
Ah, I
And
see.
then in schools, we learn Urdu, which is like the national language. And then comes English, which is like the second language of Pakistan, but we speak it as, a language more or less. Now our conversations are in English here, especially if you're living in a city, it has become more like, your everyday language, especially nowadays.
In Pakistan you speak English.
Most of the time, especially in classes, and even the new generation, the Gen Z, they always speak
Ah,
English. They don't
ah,
bother to
ah.
speak their national language. Yeah,
Interesting.
most of the
Interesting.
time.
That's interesting. Do you always plan to become a teacher, or did life take you there unexpectedly?
That's one of the interesting questions. I always get this question from my students too, like, why a teacher? I think, again, the same thing that it was a passion. I felt like, this is the place where I can connect with people. Outside of the classroom, I'm not an extrovert person. I cannot express myself out of the classroom that much because in the class you get to know, I mean, you are compelled to know students, right? So, yeah, I think that was the passion that I also love one of my teachers, who inspired me a lot. When you see in your surrounding, there are some people who inspire you. So in my high school, there was a teacher. She changed my life. I didn't know that I was a writer back then, but she encouraged me after, she saw one of my assignments and she told me that you can do, well in this field too. That's how I started writing as well. So I think
Mm.
teachers are the people who inspire others too. So based on that, I chose it. It was accidental, plus it was some sort of an organic process too. Back in my mind, I always wanted to be a teacher, But yeah.
Perfect. Nice. And let's talk a little about your current teaching. Do you teach online or face to face?
Okay, so professionally as a full-time teacher, I'm working with a university here on
Ah,
campus, but I also take like online classes as a part-time job too.
I see. How long have you been teaching online, and what platforms and tools do you usually
Mhm.
use?
Okay, so for teaching full time, I have been teaching since 2019, so it's been more than 5 years now for on-campus classes. I think I started teaching online after COVID. It was 2020 onwards that I
Mm,
used different platforms like Zoom, Google Meet, and even in Pakistani, some people who are learning this language to go abroad or just to enhance their conversational skills, we also use WhatsApp these days for teaching the language too.
I see. And what's your favorite thing about teaching students from other countries?
Okay, I think it's the culture, the stories, how we connect on so many different levels. Also, we belong to so many different regions, human ideas, human experiences are so similar. Sometimes we feel like, okay, this is a place they want to know about it. But somehow we ended up having conversations where we have so many common experiences, we get excited on same things. Sometimes we grieve over some things which we feel like, it's something which is universal and we are not alone. So different people bring in different experiences, different stories. And that's a good thing about online classes or connecting with people from different regions, which is not possible otherwise.
Yeah, right, right. Let's talk a little about Fulbright affiliate fellow in the USA. And if I understand it correctly, if a teacher from any country becomes a Fulbright affiliate fellow, they go to a USA university and help teach their language or courses related to their culture, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
And you work as a teaching assistant in USA university or college, helping American students learn your home language, right?
That's correct. Yeah. I mean,
And,
you work there as a foreign language teaching assistant and you have to teach your own language. So basically, you have different students, both like the American students plus the heritage students who belong to those countries where the language is spoken. So you have to
and you
teach
have
them
this
your language.
experience, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about your experience?
Okay. With the students there.
Yes, yes, about
Okay.
this program.
Okay. I think back here in Pakistan, I used to teach English, and the way we teach language here is a bit different from how we taught, Urdu there. So in Pakistan, we usually go with grammar methods, especially for the beginners. We teach them
Mm,
vocabulary, we teach them grammar and everything. And that's how I started teaching there too, using grammar to
mm,
teach students Urdu. And I think it was second or third class that I got to know that this is something that they don't do in language learning. They
mm,
focus more on immersive language patterns.
mm,
So that was unique to me. And I had this idea later on that why didn't I ask the students? Although we usually ask students why they learned the language. So in the classes, we had students who had like different goals from the program, from the course. It was a self study program, and I was working there as a facilitator. So, some students wanted to visit India, Pakistan. So, they just wanted to learn how to communicate with people there, just the conversation part. And some of them wanted to read the language. So, different students, different goals. But that was something like the grammar translation method, it did not work well. And I tried different methods like bringing in some stuff using, physical teaching methods. I would bring in a cell phone and ask students to bargain it because that's one of the things that we do a lot here in the market.
did it
So
work?
giving them, yeah, it
Yeah,
worked well. It
yeah,
worked actually really well. Yeah.
perfect.
So, yeah, that's how they learn. So the learning style was so different from here. But the program itself, yeah, that's how they manage the teachers there through Fulbright FLTA program. They bring in people from the native countries, and
Mm.
then they ask them to teach the kids. Yeah.
It's a kind of you share your culture. So you participate in cultural events, workshops, and presentation to help Americans and not only learn about your home country, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Like we used to have so many cultural events there. We used different Bollywood movies together just to
Mm.
have an idea, like think how things work there. How people have this idea of community there, which is very strong here. So culture through presentations, movies, art. That's what we did in the classes.
I see. And you also take courses at the university, like study subjects like teaching methods, American culture, linguistics, education, etc.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. I got to one of those classes, teaching language through culture. And I knew that Americans do have these small talks, but I didn't know how it works.
Mm,
So in one of the classes, I got to know that when Americans have this small conversation, small talk, you don't speak a lot.
mm,
That reminded me one of my encounters with one of my roommates. She usually asked me, when I got back home, like, how was your day? And I used to tell her every single detail of my day. In the class, I got to know that this is something that you don't do. You just tell them, okay, it was good or fine. You don't need to tell them every detail of your day. So it was interesting that, through those courses and through being there, I learned the language and the culture itself, that how those things work in different areas. So yeah,
mm.
that small talk part hit me differently.
Interesting. Who can become an FLTA fellow?
Okay, based on the experience and based on
Ah,
my education, they choose you for Pakistan. I think was like you need to have a university degree, bachelor's degree, plus some years of experience teaching in higher education level. So I was doing both, plus the culture that you are going to share with them there,
mm,
and the language that you are speaking, whether you are able to speak. Whether you are able to teach that language in the states, that's also something that they consider. So yeah.
and what benefits for you?
I got to take some of the courses there. I got
Ah,
professional experience as a foreign language teaching assistant. Plus, it gives you a good stipend, so you can, also travel around if you
I
want.
see. That's nice.
Yeah.
Okay, what's something unique about your hometown or culture that shapes how you teach?
I think, but over the past years, I have, even here in Pakistan, like if you go to city, the experience is different. When you
Mm,
go to different rural places, the experience is different. So I think culture does shape the way we, teach the language. For
right.
instance, when we have to give examples, 3 years back here in Pakistan, if I gave students one example of cricket, it's one
Ah,
of the games that we play here a lot, and people loved it. They would connect with me. So with the current student, the Gen Z, when I tell them about cricket, they don't know anything about it because, the culture has changed a little bit. Now they are more into anime and those things. So the teaching style different is different. So when I go to a rural area, I will talk more about, how family connections, community, and all those things work. So you have to change those based on which culture students are coming from. So you need to have a balance between culture, the current trends, because
I
that's
see.
how you have to navigate a teaching,
Right,
environment.
right, right. Merin, it's been inspiring to hear your story. What's next for you? Any projects or goals?
I think for me, I really want to be a literature teacher. Right now, I'm teaching communication plus,
Mm,
communication plus grammar courses here in the university. So I really want to go for higher education. I want to do a postdoc. Currently, I have done my master's. After that, I would like to serve as a
congratulations.
full-time professor. Thank you so much. A full-time professor, maybe writing books about, language, culture. That is something
Nice.
that inspires me.
Awesome. And finish this sentence. Teaching English is
Beautiful.
good. So, Merin, I suggest we wrap up the podcast here. I don't want this episode to run too long, and I'd also like to save some interesting topics for a future episode, since I hope we'll have another podcast together.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah, thank you, Merin. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for providing me this opportunity, and I love to, having this conversation with you.